This is Volume 4 in Bad Movie Fights vs. Good Movie Fights. In Part 3, we learned that a good fight can be balletic, gritty, innovative, and that no one cares about henchmen. Anything with shaky cam is a major no-no. Anything with choppy editing to cover up actors who can't fight is a major no-no. And remember, no gunfights allowed. So, let's do this. Let's start off with a good fight. This scene is from the film
The Matrix.
The Matrix has really two good key and famous fight scenes. This one and this one. We're going to focus on this one because this scene has more going for it. This is a great moment in the narrative where Neo finally realizes he has the power to take on Agent Smith. This moment is fantastic, inspired by Western movies, namely Sergio Leone. So whilst Neo realised he had the power to fight, now Agent Smith realises it too. And the fight style in The Matrix isn't just limited to one style. They use jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, drunken boxing, tempo, karate, and...
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
What The Matrix is famous for is its use of wire work and bullet time, and it uses it better than most films ever made. Inception may be the closest.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me!
Reason being, the narrative allows for it. The idea that these characters are fighting in a fake world where gravity can be manipulated means your belief as a viewer is never in question. And like all good fight scenes, our protagonist needs to feel like they are in danger. So we feel a sense of dread as well, before the realization that
My name is Neo.
they can win. An incredible fight sequence, one of the best, if not the best in sci-fi cinema history. But we all know what the coolest scene in The Matrix is.
Dodge this.
But no guns allowed. For our first bad scene, we'll stick with The Matrix, more specifically The Matrix Resurrections. Now if you're like me, when The Matrix Resurrections was announced, you were probably very excited. But then this happened. Now there are rumours that the director of this film, Lana Wachowski, made this film bad on purpose. And that's the only excuse I can think of for this mess of a film. Now where to begin with analysing this absolute eyesore of a scene? Firstly, what are we meant to focus on? Who is the primary of the scene? Where is our focus point? Not just from a framing standpoint, but also from a narrative standpoint. Who are we rooting for? There is shaky cam, and this line
Still no Kung Fu.
is just so sloppy. Now, what is even more frustrating about this fight and this film is that this was made 20 years after the first Matrix film. Yet everything looks worse. The cinematography, the sound, the visuals, the framing, and the slow-mo. This is dreadful in comparison to this. And then somehow, even though there's now just 2 characters, including a new Agent Smith, the fighting gets worse. It's laboured, telegraphed, and lacks true impact. A few of you guys pushed back when in Volume 2 I said that Liam Neeson was 60 when he filmed this. So maybe the scene was a little less believable. Keanu Reeves was 54 when he filmed this scene, but looks like and moves like he's 65. And it's not his fault. The scene is just bad in all areas. Because the man can still do things like this. Now, The Matrix Resurrection stars this very promising young actress, and she was also the co-star in another show that uses martial arts as its primary fighting style. Iron Fist. Now let's get it right, this Netflix Marvel show was an absolute flop upon release, and continued to be so until its cancellation. And the fight sequences was one of the many reasons for this. Because whilst Daredevil absolutely nailed his action sequences, Iron Fist miserably failed, providing poor editing, poor impact blows, and never really convincing us that our protagonist had the necessary chops to be the hero he had to be. Lead actor Finn Jones, to his credit, put the hard work in to make sure that the fighting was authentic.
For me, to do that in the action sequences, to push them to the limit. And I think that the audiences will really understand and believe that action is one of the stars.
I can't wait for people to see this season.
I just really hope that the audience can appreciate the work we've put into it and can enjoy the fights for what they are.
Well, they did see it, but they weren't too impressed. Now, all these examples so far lean heavily into martial arts. But where does it all come from? They are heavily inspired by kung fu movies of yesteryear. But maybe more than anything, the person who took motion picture martial arts to the mainstream was this guy. He turned fighting on film into a powder keg of brilliance. Look at this. His fights in Enter the Dragon, by far his best work as a film star, remains the stuff of legends. It's his OK Computer, his To Pimp a Butterfly, his Revolver, as to speak. The stuff legends are made on. And potentially, owing to his sudden and untimely death, his legend will always be as the greatest film martial artist ever. Now, of course, there's been many who cast doubts on this.
You're a little man with a big mouth and a big chip. And I think you should be embarrassed to suggest you be anything more than a stain on the seat of Cassius Clay's trunks.
Brother, you're the one with the big mouth. And I would really enjoy closing it, especially in front of all my friends.
Even the director of the film who started this video. Many took great offense to Tarantino's treatment of Lee in his Ode to Hollywood, aptly named Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And to that, Tarantino said,
I can understand his daughter having a problem with it. It's her fucking father, all right? I get that. But anybody else, go suck a dick.
But even some of you watching this video may disagree that Bruce Lee is the greatest. Maybe you think it's Jackie Chan. And that is a debate that we'll touch upon in a later volume of this series. However, what do you think? In the comments, just write the name Lee or Chan. So, whilst these guys are still fighting, in my last video, many of you commented and said this wasn't a Wilhelm scream. Well, maybe, but for sure, this is. And it's the first ever Wilhelm scream. It's from the 1951 Warner Brothers movie called Distant Drums, and since then has been the go-to stock scream for whenever a character is shot, falls from a height, or is thrown from an explosion. You may have noticed it from every single original Star Wars film, or maybe from this. Kung Fu Panda, which is a perfect example of modern films being inspired by classic martial arts. And now there is a new era of great martial arts film stars, especially him. Iko Uwais is the star of the Raid movies, and his style Pencak Silat is at the heart of those films. And that style perfectly frames a lot of the fighting in this fantastic recent martial arts film, The Night Comes For Us. This scene in particular is brutal. Similar to The Raid, the blows are clinical. Unlike some films where the fights go back and forth, these moves are designed to end the opponent's ability to fight back. Snaps, breaks, and swipes. Look at this. Again, unlike most films where the movement of weapons is aimed to swing away from the protagonist, this is aimed with full intent. Which is why things like this have to be done. But that's enough of The Night Comes For Us. We'll do this film properly in another video, because we need to talk about another new era martial artist. This guy. Scott Adkins is a British martial artist who has been in many of your favourite films like Doctor Strange, Expendables 2,
Pick it up.
John Wick 4. For years he's been on the cusp of being a Hollywood A-lister, with some even calling for him to be the next Batman. Not a bad shout, if I must say so myself. Scott even has his own YouTube channel where he interviews amazing action stars like him. Remember him from a few clips ago? But what about when fights aren't visually precise from a fighting standpoint? Well, you get this. Avengement is a 2019 British drama come action film which to date could be said to be Atkins' best pound-for-pound film. The film is gritty, raw, and brutal. The emotions involved really propel the fighting style. The great thing about a good film is that it elevates the fighting even more. And Avengement is a good film bordering on great. A word I always use is visceral. And you might be tired of that word now. But a fight like this is visceral. It feels real. The Webster definition of visceral is dealing with crude or elemental emotions. And this scene is just that. Now, many of you found this scene in Saving Private Ryan quite disturbing when I spoke about it in Volume 2, so I won't show it again in full. Instead, I'll show you this, the very definition of visceral filmmaking. But there are guns. So I'll show you a scene that borders on a fight scene, but still is more of an annihilation scene. It hails from 1990 and was directed by the legendary Martin Scorsese. A scene that sticks in my mind and has done since I first saw it.
Go, you want some? Huh? Oh, hey!
Now, why is it so visceral? Well, the acting is first rate from Ray Liotta, rest in peace, but also from his scene partner. However, when I first saw the scene as a kid, I didn't realize just how amazing this scene was. It just felt real. With most films, you can be left thinking about the process behind the filmmaking, but with this scene, you don't even consider that. Until I watched it again recently. When you slow it down, it's quite obvious that his scene partner has put the blood on his own face. This was made in 1990, before the advent of CGI, so practical effects had to be used, and they did a great job. From there, each brutal strike feels like you're being hit instead of the actor. It's brutal, and Liotta's face at the end hammers home the aggression. Now, the beautiful thing about intense actors is that even a scene like this, which is a 6-minute protagonist to antagonist conversation in the same spot from the excellent Michael Mann film Heat, is better than a lot of fight sequence you'll see even this year. It's like a fight without physical fighting. But we are talking about the two greatest actors of all time here. Another actor who brings that element of realism to his characters is Jon Bernthal.
But is he intense?
Yeah, I mean, certainly he can be. And I'll read something and he'll be like, okay, it's good. So, but why would I give her the gun? You know, and you're like, oh, why would he? You know, and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing? And then suddenly you've got an hour on set where you're trying to figure out what you're going to do instead kind of thing. Kind of because John is too good at what he does.
And there's nothing better than a character who's against all of the world when it comes to fight sequences. The Punisher TV series did that brilliantly. First with this fight from season 1, and this whole episode is a masterclass in controlled aggression, great writing, and excellent pacing. This fight feels really earned, but also this scene feels highly visceral. And conversely, this is what happens when you get bad filmmaking with bad action. This is the original Punisher from 1989. It's fair to say this film didn't start the Marvel movie's legacy. Now, Dolph Lundgren is trying his very best here, but, well, it's a no from me. So again, it's very fair to say that Dolph Lundgren in this movie didn't start the Marvel movie legacy. But this guy did, though.
I got 2 new hands, Blade. I don't know which one to use to kill you with.
I could watch this scene all day. A visceral scene that is on the level of The Punisher is from the film I know you've all been waiting for.
A girl alone on a bus at night? It's fucking stupid. It's stupid, right?
Guys.
What are you still doing here, old man?
Remember, no guns.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
I got it.
Now this fight has pretty much everything. The stakes are high, our protagonist is fighting for this girl, but also his sense of purpose in life. The odds are against him because of age, but also because of the numbers, and it has brutality. And of course, our lead actor here is...
It's all good, man.
So you know there's going to be a level of intensity. And as we said, having an intense actor in the lead role can raise the fight scene up by many levels. No guns. It really adds something to the rawness of a scene. Robert Pattinson is a really intense actor, and his fighting scenes in The Batman feel earned. It's almost as if they paid these stunt actors to really get hit.
I'm vengeance.
Unlike Bruce Lee.
And the stuntmen hated Bruce.
Really?
On Green Hornet. No, it's in Matthew Polly's book. And before that, it's always been known. That's why Gene LaBelle was brought on, to teach Bruce respect for American stuntmen. Bruce had nothing but disrespect for stuntmen.
Really?
And he was always hitting them.
There's nothing worse for a stuntman than an actor without permission hitting them for real on a take. Our good friend Steven Seagal was notorious for this.
So tell me about this whole tagging thing. Are you familiar with it?
Well, you're saying somebody that hits people like for real in a movie. No, it does not happen very often. I mean, Steven Seagal hits the shit out of people. That's a unique situation.
Oh, in those films you did with Steven Seagal, he was actually hitting the stuntman for real?
Hell yeah. He's known for that.
And the awesome Michael J. White ties Volume 4 of this series together perfectly. Because he was also in Batman, done this with Scott Adkins, and worked with Seagal. He's an incredible martial artist, one of the best around. And his thoughts on Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan are...
I think Jackie Chan would win.
I mean, is not a professional fighter, but he is a...
I would, if I was a betting man, I'd say Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was bigger. It'd be very difficult for him to beat that person because Bruce Lee was not a fighter. That's not his skill set.
He was an actor.
Yeah, he's a martial artist, the greatest martial artist who ever lived.
Which nicely takes us to our last good fight. I don't like that Atomic Blonde scene, but Kill Bill feels very different on many levels. We've seen our protagonist literally come back from the dead. We're fully on her side. We know what she's been through to get this good, which is why this scene completely makes sense. Wire work, crash zooms, narrative, and this. Which, like most Tarantino films, is borrowed from another film. And there is one last person who, undercover, has threaded together most of this video and is the most important person mentioned so far. The director and choreographer, Yang Wuping, or Wuping Yan, who all the way from The Drunken Master starring Jackie Chan back in 1978 to The Matrix in 1999 to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in 2003 to Kill Bill to Kung Fu Hustle, has choreographed and directed each film, plus so many other classic films. The man is truly one of, if not the greatest and most influential film-based martial artist ever. Well, I guess these guys are not going to stop fighting. And it doesn't matter, we'll leave them to it. But in the meantime, I would be most grateful if you could hit the like button and they're still going? Gosh. Well, this has been Bad Movie Fights versus Good Movie Fights, Volume 4.
Look! Look at them, they're everywhere!
I don't know. Maybe they can see. Alley, 5th and Spring.
Now hold on. You ain't the first son of a bitch to wake up out of their dream.